Hello, and thanks for joining us. This is the Signature TV News Update. I am Ifunanya Ilodianya. In the headlines, MacArthur Foundation says corruption thrives because of citizen inaction. Federal government moves to invest in local production of standardized assistive technology for persons with disability. Former chairman of House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Petroleum Subsidy, Farouk Lawan, sentenced to 7 years in prison. And now the details. The federal government, through the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, on Tuesday presented a draft national roadmap on local production of standardized assistive technology for persons with disability in Nigeria for stakeholders' validation. SignatureTV correspondent Chibweze Obi was at the validation meeting and now reports.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary, Bashir Akali, said the move to invest in the local production of assistive technologies for the persons with disabilities was because of unavailability and high cost of buying imported assistive technologies, which make it difficult to access.
The importance of assistive technologies in the lives of persons with disabilities cannot be overemphasized, as it enables them to live healthy, productive, independent, and dignified lives. However, it is sad to say that most people who really need these technologies find it very difficult to access them, largely because assistive devices and technologies are not readily available, and even if available, are unaffordable, not because Nigeria lacks the expertise, but because our local manufacturers are limited to scaling up the production of quality assistive devices due to the persistent use of obsolete equipment and lack of basic capital.
According to the minister, the Nigeria, being a signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, has it as obligation to ensure that the persons with disabilities have access to affordable assistive technologies. This move, she said, would help improve the life of persons with disabilities and give them better living outcome.
These efforts have at different times been aimed at specific objectives to greatly fetch better living outcomes for persons with disabilities in Nigeria. Nigeria is a signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which commits member states to ensuring that persons with disabilities have access to affordable assistive technology, mobility aid, and indeed made it a human rights obligation that every state must fulfill.
Fidelia Unugbe, a representative from Daughter of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul, in her goodwill message praised federal government for its effort in making life easy for people with disabilities in the country.
When we talk of assistive technology in Nigeria, we know very well that we are really short of assistive devices for persons with disabilities. I think that this roadmap will actually help us a lot in achieving this standardization. It is a pleasure to congratulate the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development for always taking the lead to initiate this kind of program.
The meeting was to involve all the relevant stakeholders, development partners, and non-governmental organizations to make input and add value to the document. In Abuja, Chibweze Obi for Signature TV.
The Senate has confirmed the nomination of Major General Farouk Yahaya for appointment of Chief of Army Staff. The confirmation of Yahaya follows the presentation and consideration of the report of the Joint Senate Committee on Defense and Army at plenary. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Defense, Senator Aliyu Wamako, presented the report. President Buhari had earlier in the month asked the Red Chamber to confirm Yahaya, who was appointed after the demise of former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atta. General Yahaya has been serving as Chief of Army Staff in acting capacity following the death of his predecessor, Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atta, who died in a military plane crash in Kaduna. A high court in the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) has sentenced the former chairman of House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Petroleum Subsidy, Farouk Lawan, to 7 years in prison. Lawan, during trial on Tuesday, was found guilty on counts 1, 2, and 3, bordering on corruptly asking for and obtaining the same from Femi Otedola in order to exonerate Zelon Petroleum and Gas Limited from the list of companies in the fuel subsidy scam. For count 1 and 2, the court sentenced him to 7 years, while for count 3, he was sentenced to 5 years. The sentence had to run concurrently. The court also ordered that the defendant return the sum of $500,000, being the amount he corruptly collected, to the federal government. The Deputy Director, Nigeria Office of MacArthur Foundation, Dayo Olaide, says corruption thrives in the country because Nigerians have refused to query government institutions. He made this statement on Corruption to Pre-Production conference organized by Signature Communications Limited on Saturday in Abuja. Marvelous Obomano reports.
The Deputy Director, Nigeria Office of MacArthur Foundation, Dayo Olaide, while briefing participants at the Corruption Tory Pre-Production Conference organized by SignatureTV on Saturday, stressed the need to get more Nigerians engaged in fighting corruption and also for institutions in the fight against corruption to be strengthened.
Globally, they have problem of corruption at different levels. But what distinguishes these different jurisdictions is that in some places it is widespread because people can do it and get away with it. In other places where corruption has been controlled, it's simply because there is a predictable sanction. We need to get more Nigerians involved in the fight against corruption. And that's one of the underlying outcomes that we are hoping to achieve. The second fundamental thing is you cannot fight corruption in a vacuum. And so institutions and structures that have been put in place for the fight against corruption, we need to strengthen them.
Olaide, who said that MacArthur Foundation has resolved to make corruption costly in Nigeria, disclosed that MacArthur Foundation in the last 5 years has empowered over 100 organizations in the fight against corruption.
In the last 5 years, MacArthur Foundation has granted 100+ organizations to try and support the fight against corruption. The vision is that the fight against corruption stands the best chance of making an impact if we are able to get all Nigerians standing up against corruption.
He also said, in addition to partnering with SignatureTV on the Corruption Tory project, the foundation is also working with creative industry to drive home the need to fight against corruption.
The film industry has immense power to change, to cause change. And I'm sure if I ask every one of us here, we can identify one story that has changed us or influenced us one way or the other. The foundation is also supporting, Nollywood to create movies, to infuse messages on corruption into dramas and the rest.
The Corruption Tory Pre-Production Conference was organized to review the Season 1 production and re-strategize on how to improve the Season 2 which begins on the 4th of July 2021. In Abuja, Marvelous Obomman for Signature TV.
In business, Lawan read the president's letter requesting the supplementary budget on the floor of the Senate. On Tuesday, the Federal Executive Council (FEC) had earlier approved the amount. A substantial part of the amount has been earmarked for the procurement of military hardware to prosecute the war against insurgency and banditry. The federal government is also expected to use part of the fund for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines and other health-related needs. On the foreign scene, voting in Ethiopia is continuing in some parts of the country for a second day after challenges in some area, while ballot counting has begun in most areas. The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia chairperson, Betukan Medesak, said some constituencies and polling stations encountered problems including shortages of ballot materials and unjustified interventions by local officials. The voting was extended by 3 hours across the country on Monday because of logistical challenges. The board said voting would resume on Tuesday in some areas of eastern Ethiopia as well as in the western Oromai region. In the Sidania region, voting was postponed until Tuesday after less than half the ballot papers arrived. Despite the difficulties, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed praised the election as an historic day and the nation's first free and fair election. Now to the world of entertainment. Let's join Blessing Adejo.
It don't happen. It don't happen. My baby, it don't happen.
Hello and welcome to Entertainment News. Feels good to always have you join me on Entertainment segment. I am Blessing Adejo.
Popular Nollywood actress Funke Akindele has bagged the Most Popular Actress Award. The award was compiled by the Net Nigeria based on verified audience data. Speaking about the achievement, the mother of two said she owed the popularity to God, hard work, and her fans. She took to her Instagram page to celebrate. Funke shared a photo with audio of herself with several inscriptions on it. Popular comedian, actor, and producer Bobby Ogbumma has opened up on his sour relationship with his colleague A.Y. Makun, saying he thinks they only grew apart. Bobby told Ebuka Obi Uchendu on the television show Robin Mind he also stressed he stays away from his colleagues who operate in a way and manner that doesn't synchronize with him. The humorous Mind also noted that he doesn't know about others, but he wants to operate as it's done internationally. Former BB Niger star Praise Nelson has announced plans to walk out from his family. In a tweet, the reality TV star described family as a scam. According to him, family members are the ones who take advantage of a person the most. He shared this thought on his Twitter handle on Monday.
And this is where we draw the curtain for today. I remain your anchor, Blessing Adejo. Bye.
And the world of sports. Premier League champions Manchester City have reportedly made a £100 million bid for Tottenham Hotspur striker Harry Kane. With City open to include players in addition to the cash offer, the England captain is said to have submitted a request to leave North London at the end of the last season, but is fully focused on the Euros, with a decision on his club future not expected before the conclusion of the tournament. The Premier League's top scorer is valued at over £120 million, with Tottenham keen to keep the 27-year-old. Before we end the news, a recap of our major stories. MacArthur Foundation says corruption thrives because of citizens' inaction. Federal government moves to invest in local production of standardized assistive technology for persons with disability. Former chairman of the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Petroleum Subsidy Farouk Lawan sentenced to 7 years in prison. Safety and security begins with you. Be patriotic. Report any suspicious activities to law enforcement agencies. Please stay safe. That's the Signature TV News Updates. On behalf of my producer Nasir Usman, I'm Ifunanya Ilodianya. Thanks for watching.